Hello and welcome to Ask the Accountant. We have cool friends. And we don't get much cooler than this one, do we?
Well, no, not really.
No, I think this is as cool as they get.
I mean, we've had celebrities, we've had champions of bookkeepers,
Multiple award winners, but none of them would be anyone without the person that hands out all the awards. Exactly. So, Amy, please tell everyone.
Here you are, what you do.
Let everyone know about the wonderful Amy. Go for it.
Okay, well, I'll tell you the bit I know. I'm Ami Copeland. I'm the CEO of ICB. We are the UK's biggest and only dedicated professional body for bookkeepers. And yeah, I don't know. We just ran an event which made me think that I am a bit of a celebrity champion.
You are?
Of bookkeepers, but maybe just for one night of the year.
I think people see you more than that one night, don't they? Let's start off with your backstory. Let's go. How did you get to the position that you are in today? You know, what hoops did you jump through? How did you go? Let's go. Let's start from this. Let's start from day dot. Get to where we are now.
Day dot. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So fun fact, I was born in Wrexham. In Wales.
So are you now a Wrexham fan?
Oh, yes.
With everything that's going
Everybody is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Big Wrexham fan. So I had a bit of a funny route into bookkeeping, I suppose, like a lot of people. I went to film school and in America. And then worked on feature films, not very successful ones, none that you ever would have heard of or even seen, hopefully.
And what was your role?
I was working in production, so production coordinator, production supervisor, very thankless, very difficult, but very fun. Then I started working behind the camera as a camera woman, making little documentaries, mostly about bands. Then I worked in front of the camera as a presenter for channel4.com.
Wow.
And then I started working in marketing at ICB. I started running the Bookkeepers Summit and just generally trying to make us kind of visually exciting and make those experiences for members really exciting. And then kind of worked my way up and, you know, the rest is history. Now I'm the CEO. But, you know, the secret really is that my parents founded it, so.
I love it.
But I'm sure it was a very tough and grueling interview process that they put you through.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, the tough bit was trying to kind of seize control.
Yes.
Out of their hands. But yeah, so ICB was set up when I was 11, I think. So I did a lot of work in the mailroom when I was little, when I had holidays off from school, and I would, you know, put people's certificates into the stamp machine and make sure that, you know, every single label was put on perfectly straight because we think that, you know.
I mean, that's a success story people love to read.
Mailroom
to CEO.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, that really kind of, they really ingrained in me how important it is for people to get these certificates and that it's not just a piece of paper. So yeah, a lot of attention to detail.
And I suppose with your background in film, you must be adapt to telling stories and getting that out there. And this must be how you kind of got to have the confidence on stage and everything else that you see from you. Because we think about the Lucas and ICB is Amy on stage, right? That's like the pinnacle aspect of it, isn't it?
Yeah. It better not be, then I'm doing it wrong, if that is the case.
The winners, obviously.
Yeah, obviously, but, that's what I was saying. But, you know, you are the...
Some award ceremonies you go to, they feel the need to bring in a host, a comedian or something like that.
Yes.
Whereas, you know, because they haven't got people internally that would perhaps be comfortable doing it.
Or they've got big budgets.
Or they've got very big budgets.
And the cheap option, to be honest.
So either you're really good at it and really experienced, or you are a bit of a bargain. And quite good at it as well. I mean, I assume you're doing it not just because you're a budget option, but you feel your members have visibility and a touch point and you're leading that community. And so you should be seen there.
Yeah, good question. Okay, I feel like I'm just serving a purpose. And once, you know, because I've been there throughout the whole organization, I know all the members, and I feel like I know where I want to take them. And I'm not doing that much. So I opened the summit, I did 8 minutes, I think 9 minutes. I did 5 minutes at the Luca Awards. So I'm trying to keep it short and sweet, but I just, you know, I know I know the whole kind of, the mood, the tone that I want to set.
Yeah.
So I suppose sometimes, I'm the easy option, but also, so I'm kind of taking over from my parents, mostly my dad. He was always on stage. So I suppose maybe I'm emulating that a bit. But what I would say is it's much easier to keep to time these days.
Yeah, I can.
So that's quite nice. There's just this sort of simplicity, I suppose, with just like in, out, 8 minutes, done.
Yeah.
And you've probably taken that from the feedback of the community, and because the ICB are all bookkeepers in general, are very good at feedback, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're definitely very good at vocalizing their feedback, which is what you want, because that's how you improve, right? We can all improve from that.
And to make sure it gives you the feedback to improve, but also to reaffirm of what you've got right.
Yeah, hopefully.
Everyone always talks about feedback or gives you what we need to improve. It's like, but it also reaffirms everything you've got right in that feedback. So
yeah, because they're not going to give you the feedback unless they think it's worth, worth building upon.
Exactly.
I always think, even if it's negative, if someone said something negative to you, there's at least 10 or maybe even 100 people that are quietly thinking it and not telling you.
Yeah.
And I think also, just on that point about your stage presence and being on there, I think a lot of people now, they associate the winning of the award, don't they, with the photo with yourself, because that's part and parcel of it. That's what they've won, right? They've got their recognition, they've got their Luke Award that they're so proud of.
And it's a recognition from the leader of the community.
Yeah, and you're there to take the photo with them, aren't you?
I find that particularly difficult, actually. I don't like being in all the photos.
In what way?
Well, because it's not, I don't know. It's sort of, I don't know, it just sort of brands it so much with me. And I'm sort of the smallest part of it. So I always wonder whether that's kind of optional.
It's the ICB branding that you want there, not the Amy branding.
Yeah. And also, so we were really pleased to have so many people from Azerbaijan there yesterday.
That was fantastic turnout.
And I went to Azerbaijan earlier this year, and they have a Luca room in their office.
Oh, wow.
And it's got framed photos of everybody winning awards, and I'm in every single one. And they had this giant Luca award on the wall, and it was, it's kind of got neon lighting around it. But it was just, I don't know, it made me feel very uncomfortable, these pictures of me
As being a celebrity,
in frames.
basically.
So yes, it doesn't come that easily, to be honest. But I think part of being a CEO is just sort of, you have to pimp yourself out. So you have to do these things. So it's like, the buck stops here. If it needs doing, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, sometimes I wonder, surely not everybody wants to have me in their photo.
But I think that's part and parcel of it. And what's your alternative? You saw Buddy HR yesterday.
The Red Panda costume.
Red Panda. I mean, that's your alternative. You have an ICB chameleon or whatever you wanted to have up there. It's not quite the same. It's not given the same.
I did
not the same
actually
black
say,
tie kind of event, is it?
Yeah.
I said to Jonathan from Buddy that actually, if your actor doesn't show up, maybe it could be me.
That would have been brilliant.
Or maybe we could even just start a rumour that
it was you, because you were not there at that point.
I was very confused when I started seeing photos of a Red Panda and Jonathan. I thought, I've always gone on the assumption that, Jonathan was the Red Panda. But then I saw them both in the same room. It's like, oh my God.
Because
all of my belief system's broken.
It's been Amy the whole time.
Oh.
I really like that Red Panda. I feel like there's this weird kind of oxytocin release that happens when you're with a big furry thing. I got my hugs in.
He's got to a winner there, hasn't he? It's definitely brand awareness. So
definitely.
Maybe that's what we do next year. You have some sort of
ICB mascot
on stage. They have the photos. I'm not sure it'll go down well, but that was out of 2 pence.
What it would be.
Let's get into it then. Bookkeeping.
I've heard of it.
Heard of it. Heard it mentioned. Bookkeeping going forwards. Okay. What's the vision? What are we looking forward to? What are our challenges that are coming up for bookkeepers? What's the ICB doing to support, mitigate those challenges? Because there's a lot of bookkeepers out there that aren't with a governing body. Hopefully they're with at least HMRC from Money AML. If they're not, then they're naughty, but hey ho, they're probably not watching this. But those that are with HMRC for their AML probably aren't quite aware of quite how much ICB or any governing body actually does for its members, from support, education, lobbying government to make the right choices point of view. So give us a bit of an insight of what have you been up to recently? What have you got coming up? Those yet to be members could go, actually, I need the ICB on my side. And if I'm feeding back into the ICB as a member, that helps them when they go to government to lobby. It helps them understand what support we need, what education we need, etc. So, yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, it's a big deal for us to future-proof the skills of our members. Yeah, just events like Bookkeeper Summit and the Lucre Awards, I think, really demonstrate, or hopefully should demonstrate, the value of being part of a professional body, because it's it's more than just that kind of giving people credentials when they first start, which is obviously the entry point for most people. It really is having that community of people to support you. So yes, we've got things that all professional bodies have. We've got technical support. You obviously have to have a license to practice in the UK. So that's, ticking that box. But it's just having people that have been there and done that. And we do have a really, really special bunch of people who are bookkeepers in this country who support each other. So you get great value for money, basically, with your membership. But what we've seen is that bookkeepers are just really stepping into their power, if I might say. That sounds really sort of grandiose, but there has been this massive change, and we sort of saw it begin with COVID. I think that was this real turning point where bookkeepers became really known for how incredible they are and kind of began to differentiate themselves in the market. So I think there's been this sort of history of what is a bookkeeper? They're basically somebody who couldn't become an accountant or something like that. Maybe that's sort of what people think about them, which is completely not the case. And it seemed that during COVID, it was the bookkeepers who were there supporting clients day in, day out, doing the furlough payments, trying to communicate all these changes to their, the employers or their clients. And it's just it's kind of snowballing now, I think. And obviously we've seen, we like to say that they're at the forefront of technology. And so because a lot of them have sort of started their businesses because they're looking for something really flexible, they want to run their businesses from home a lot of the time. That's why they're so good at using technology, because they want to be able to work remotely and communicate with their clients on a regular basis. So that sort of the openness to technology, I think, is what's really giving them this kind of advantage now. Now that we've got things like AI that can take on even more of the grunt work and more of that kind of the busy work, but also they've been able to sort of convey these benefits to their clients as well. So things like making tax digital are just sort of playing into their hands, because I think it's very easy for us to kind of sit back and say, oh, well, obviously digital record keeping is a no-brainer. But bookkeepers are working with clients for whom this is a massive step. And any kind of digitization is scary. Any sort of working with accounts is scary. So there are so many business owners that are massively affected by things like making tax digital and do not see it as a kind of, inevitable step on the way to the future. So bookkeepers are really good at helping clients with technology, really good at using technology, but also they've got this fantastic approach to working with clients where they're able to make narrative from the numbers, turn the accounts into a story, help business owners understand where they might need to put their costs up because all of their suppliers' costs are going up. I mean, simple things like that a lot of business owners just don't have the time to be thinking about. So yeah, I think they're just so perfectly positioned to do whatever they want with this kind of, I said it yesterday, with this sort of seed of technical accounting skills. They have got this position that I don't think any other professional has at the moment, where they can do whatever they want with it. So we're seeing more bookkeeping businesses grow.
Good.
Because the demand is just massive. We're seeing more bookkeepers get into this kind of quote unquote advisory stuff. So, it starts off with sort of cash flow forecasts. And, we kind of set them off with this quite practical qualification. And we don't kind of mess it up with all of this, stuff that takes years to learn. We're not doing assurance. We're not doing legal stuff. We're not doing tax specialism stuff. So we give them this nice sort of core bit of technical skills, and then they can just add on whatever they want.
Love that.
Love it. So COVID triggered the snowball effect, as you just said. And I think that's purely because bookkeepers are the ones that are on the shop floor. Like, they're the ones that you have, in some cases, daily contact with as a business owner. Whereas your accountant's once a year. So who are you going to go to get that support when there's a sudden problem. You go to the person you've got the better relationship, which will naturally be the person you speak to most often. And I said it a few weeks ago, like on the podcast, that bookkeepers have got this huge opportunity in making tax digital for income tax, and like the government's latest update that they're not going to show bookkeepers that the second agent all of the information. It's like, why would you hide the information from the person that's having the most regular contact?
You have hit the nail on the head there.
They've listened to you and gone, all right, we'll give you a token gesture, but actually it's of no use to anybody whatsoever. And but it keeps the accounting bodies happy.
There are some amazing accountants and they get it. And that's actually, for me, that's how I know a good accountant from a bad accountant. They value bookkeeping.
Yep.
And I have been to these HMRC kind of roundtable co-work, co-creation sessions where some of these accountants turn around to me and they go, oh, you can get qualifications as a bookkeeper, can you? And I've heard these accountants say, well, yes, my client wouldn't want to share their information with the bookkeeper. The bookkeeper doesn't know as much as I know. And I think you've got it absolutely wrong. I think actually it's the other way around. And I've spoken to bookkeepers who say, I get a call from my client every time they speak to their accountant because they need me to translate what they've said.
Yeah.
So it's just, a lot of it is just communication, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So what's the ICB's approach at the moment for MTD? It's or MTD it as it's now known. Like huge opportunity.
Well,
qualifications need redoing.
No.
What do bookkeepers need to consider now, ready to be ready for 2026?
Well, I think MTD it is a great opportunity for bookkeepers if they have capacity. I think, most of our bookkeepers are absolutely straining under the demand. And the number of people that I speak to, I'm sure we spoke to some of them today, who are getting multiple client inquiries every day.
Yeah.
And they haven't ever done any advertising, no marketing, nothing. And so they are already too busy. And so I think if you're relatively successful bookkeeping practice now, you will have every system you already need to cope with MTD it. You're literally going to press a button because all the accounting records are up to date. You are probably at least doing quarterly bookkeeping, quarterly accounts with your clients. So I don't think that's going to be, I really don't think it's going to make a huge amount of difference. But I do hope they are going to find ways to, give great value to their clients, maybe definitely charge for this, for services, because you're giving those clients this kind of reassurance.
Yeah.
And, this is scary stuff for clients. They really want to be compliant. But I think, if there are still lots and lots of self-employed people that just have absolutely no clue. And also it's very it's split geographically as well. I spoke to somebody yesterday who's in North Yorkshire. She's got a lot of farm businesses that she supports, and they are just not geared up for making tax digital. I think it's true in various parts of the UK as well. So certain types of clients are really going to struggle. And obviously, they say it's a third of businesses, I think, that don't have any kind of accounting or agent support.
Yeah.
I just, to be honest, I think that number seems too low.
Yeah. I'm convinced that accountants and bookkeepers, we have to do this 4 times a year, and that there's going to be a bit of a painful conversation to tell the client we need to press a button 4 times a year, and we'll be charging you for that, and rightly so. I think it's the flood of potential clients that are going to come to accountants and bookkeepers in the next 2 years, who are going to need absolutely everything from software implementation to better record keeping to actually educating about what the bloody hell does this letter that I've just received telling me I've got to file a quarterly return mean, to behavioural change. Like these clients don't know of anything other than filing once a year. Like VAT, MTD, right? That was easy because that was just going, this software now goes from here to here as a portal. Oh, okay. And we already had the behavioural quarterly filings and awareness, and all right, some people had to go from spreadsheets to software, but they still had the behaviour and the routine of quarterly filings. That's the big bit. And 9 out of 10 times, accountants and bookkeepers aren't the most people. And getting non-people to have to educate behavioural change, I think it's going to be huge. I think it's completely underestimated by HMRC and the government. But I mean, what are your members saying in regards to that behavioural change that we need to do?
Well, actually, I was in a nice meeting with HMRC with Craig Ogilvie, the director of MTD, poor guy.
Thankless job.
Thankless job. He seems to love it. I was with him and one of our members, Julie Branham, and she actually used that exact same phrase, behavioural change. And she said, actually, as a bookkeeper, I think a very small portion of my job is actually bookkeeping. A lot of it is bringing about this behavioural change, particularly when you're supporting clients who, she said she's got a client who's really dyslexic, just finds numbers absolutely terrifying. And people shut off. You know, I've got a husband who runs his own business, super smart guy, absolutely freezes up when it comes to accounts. It's the weirdest thing, which is why that's kind of where I learned to be a bookkeeper-ish when I was doing books for our business, because I was the only person who, you know, could actually keep my mind open when I kind of saw a spreadsheet. But I think it's, you're absolutely right. I think it's massively underestimated. And actually, I heard that HMRC wanted to make the process automated. Like, they didn't even want you to submit anything, because they were just like, well, let's just get people to do it. And all this talk about, well, it doesn't really matter if the records are incorrect. And you say that to a bookkeeper, and they're just like, there's no way I'm going to submit something that is not absolutely perfect.
Not even that, though. Regardless of whether accountants and bookkeepers are happy to submit perfect, non-perfect information, why are we wasting our time and effort if it doesn't matter? Why have we brought this whole system in if actually the accuracy of the quarterly returns doesn't matter? That it defeats the object.
It does, but that's because HMRC aren't being honest with us about what they want out of this. Because they want quarterly payments. They want
ultimately.
And if they started with that and they told us it's quarterly payments, yes, there'll be a stink about it. But I feel for a lot of clients, they'll actually prefer it, because a lot of clients, they want that reassurance that it's been paid for and it's going forward. So I think to us, like, there's this whole, oh, it's okay, we can just submit and it'll be okay and it'll sort itself out in the end. I think we just need that honesty from HMRC, and I think that would help us adopt this, right? If it was quarterly payments, that's definitely a change of for the clients. That's going to be a big change for them. And that gives us an opportunity to have a conversation. And I think, HMRC are trying to, they want to do it softly, don't they? They want to kind of bring in when really we just need to pull the Band-Aid off for this one. What do you think?
I'm a bit worried about the nudges that they talk about.
Yeah.
They're just going to be nudging business owners and saying, oh, this was what your tax bill looks like.
Like any brown letter from HMRC in any format, even with a big word like nudge on top of it or something like that, clients are going to go see that number and go, what? It's like, oh, but remember, your business is seasonal. Like, that's right now, but you're going to have no profit for 2 months because of Christmas or something and New Year, and you're in construction, but you make it here, and we know this. But HMRC's nudge letters are going to be scaring the life out of some people.
Really scary, especially if it's inaccurate anyway.
Yeah.
But hopefully, I really do hope we will see this kind of once in a generation change where all businesses think, will this happen? You know, all businesses, when they first set up, I need to get a bookkeeper, rather than it being this kind of afterthought. And the number of bookkeepers, you know, they post it on LinkedIn sometimes. They just, you know, clients come along and they say, here's my 5 years worth of HMRC letters, and they're completely unopened.
Yeah.
A lot of their work is just clean up jobs.
Yeah.
Sometimes cleaning up after other, you know, so-called professionals, sometimes cleaning up after the clients. It's difficult, and you do need help.
And that cleanup's going to be even more important, because AI is going to be very important for clients getting that information in. And AI is going to do a good job to get them started and everything else, but they're going to need that human interaction to make sure it's right. And I've been playing around with QuickBooks brand new sole trader product, and literally you can download the app, connect the bank, and in 2 minutes you've got a tax position done and dusted. It auto categorizes and AI comes in, but that's not going to be correct, and there's definitely issues there. But that's going to be a whole new skill set for bookkeepers to figure out, well, how do we sort that out?
How do we teach AI?
Yeah.
And I think that's where the profession's always going to have a light at the end of the tunnel, because the human interactions need to be there for that element, isn't it?
I think it's because bookkeepers are really, I was saying at the Bookkeeper Summit, they're really kind of integrators. And they don't just, it's not just about knowing the business owner, but it's about understanding who's on the payroll and understanding what they're actually trying to achieve and who is that supplier. And, being able to spot things because you've got this huge context. You understand the entire business. Yeah. That's massively missing, isn't it, with any kind of AI? And any bookkeeper will say what happens when their client thinks they've done the bank reconciliation, but actually, the bank feeds like duplicated all the transactions, or they've posted all of these things that they've bought, but then also they've input all of the receipts, so everything's again, it's duplicated. There's so much trouble that can come,
and AI is not going to spot that.
No, I don't think it is. I mean, it doesn't, an AI bank reconciliation isn't worth anything these days. I mean, these things are going to improve, but like the budget, for example, the number of bookkeepers who were super busy after the budget because clients were just ringing up and saying, what?
Yeah.
There's how many changes are there to the NI? And that is the sort of stuff that you're just never going to get out of your software. And also, and just you want to get the reassurance from a bookkeeper. So I think we're in a really good moment in time where bookkeepers really are starting to value themselves at the same time as clients are starting to properly value them as well. I'm also hoping from the ICB perspective for the next year, really in terms of the run up to making tax digital, is we want to start working more closely with accountants and the accounting bodies to make sure that accountants really value bookkeepers. Because, this is what I was saying at those HMRC meetings. Why don't you know exactly who ICB is yet? And I can only blame myself, but you should be working more closely with bookkeepers because bookkeepers can solve this problem for you. Yes, they're all sitting there thinking, oh, it's really awful. My client's never going to give me this information. Well, actually, bookkeepers are really good at this. Bookkeepers are really good at, let's not say nagging, let's say
prompting.
Yes, prompting, that's a good word. Prompting their clients, helping with that behavioral change that you need, getting their clients into a good system. Really, they're systems organizers, bookkeepers. They create great systems, and that's why they help with software onboarding and things like that, all the things that you need to make making tax digital work. And that's why Craig Ogilvie was there at the Bookkeeper Summit yesterday. And he actually said, are all bookkeepers this nice? It is like night and day, the difference between bookkeepers and some other professionals.
The overriding feeling for the whole of yesterday, both for the Summit and Luca Awards, was the community. And everyone's there to support everybody and share insights, share experiences. And we've spoken about this in previous podcasts about the fact you've got your branches and there's community at every level of the ICB. From the moment you become qualified and licensed, there's a local branch, and then there's bigger things that feed into the ICB, and then you've got the big summit events, and you do your road show, and it is community. And I think a lot of bookkeepers see value in that because most of them are lone workers.
Yeah.
And they need that sense of community to know, all right, so-and-so's not sat right next to me or in the same office, but if I drop them a WhatsApp, if I give them a call or an email, I know they're there to help me. Like whether that's a member or one of your technical specialists, I think they value that really highly.
I think it goes further as well because you mentioned about the other accounting institutes that are out there. So I've got a different accountancy qualification, and if you cut me, I definitely don't bleed that accountancy qualification. But for the ICB members, you cut them and they are
oh my gosh,
just ICB.
I hear that all the time.
Yeah, and you've got to be proud of instigating that, because that is, as an outside looking in, that is a very FOMO-esque way of doing it. I wouldn't get nowhere near the amount of support that you guys give your members and what your members give to each other as well, right?
Yeah.
How did you do it? What's the secret sauce?
So we're 30 years old next year? No, year after next we'll be 30 years old. And when we started up, there was no professional body for bookkeepers because bookkeeping was not a profession. Bookkeepers were, we say in the kind of darkened corner of the room, just the most competent person, usually a woman, that, you would just dump the stuff on. And so there has been this massive transformation. And yeah, it's just this bringing together of amazing people. And actually, our work is made much easier by the fact that I think actually genuinely all bookkeepers are really nice, and they get into it because they really want to help people. So they're altruistic by nature. They are naturally community focused, but like you say, more likely to be lone workers. And 78% of our members are women. So more likely to be women as well. Maybe they're particularly community spirited. I don't know. But we are just so different from accountants. We don't even have mid-tier firms. I mean, a large practice for us is 5 people. So yeah, very small practices, albeit they are growing at quite a rate at the moment because of the demand. But they're super unique, and they are really, really collaborative, very, very supportive. So, yes, I suppose some of it is because ICB has been doing a great job. I think it's really just because bookkeepers are great.
So there's huge demand. Everyone's got more inquiries than they can handle. There's 78% female in the industry. Is there any facts about age brackets in the industry?
Average age of our members is 38.
Okay.
Wow.
Which is quite young, actually, isn't it?
It's younger than I expected. I'll be honest. I was expecting 40s to 50s. But how do we get people talking and thinking about bookkeeping at school, college, university, at the point where they go, that's where I want to be an employee or my own boss in that industry? Because we need talent coming through.
We really do. Yeah.
We can't just rely on it. Well, 78% of the women will go and have babies and then want to come back into work, and they want something flexible. So they'll then go into bookkeeping by default.
Yeah. Why wait? Why wait to do your second
Millie
career?
In here this morning, right?
Ah, yes.
So student of the year.
Yes.
How do we get more Millies into the world of bookkeeping?
I think just stick her on all the posters, maybe more trump cards with Millie's face on. But yes, I mean, absolutely. That's part of why it's great, actually, the Bookkeeper Summits, because you can really see people IRL and, find these kind of young, interesting voices. And I like to think that's what we do well at ICB, is kind of, giving everybody a voice. But this should be a career choice for loads of people, school leavers. I mean, we do actually have a 13-year-old student at the moment. And why wait till you've left school even? But I think these sort of trends with kind of business ownership change over time, don't they? And I think we are in a good place now where young people do want to run their own businesses. And I think what I really love is to see bookkeepers who take their interests and their hobbies or even sort of whatever they've kind of learnt at school or college, and then they use that to build a business around that. So I don't know if you met the escape room bookkeeper.
Yes, met him.
He is coming at it from a different career, and interestingly has taken that same route of, he's got a young baby. But this is, bookkeeping skills are something that every single business needs. And so you've really got a career for life. And I talk a lot about my husband, who I used to work with when I was our bookkeeper / producer / camera woman or whatever. But he makes videos for brands. And that is the kind of thing that you are constantly trying to get clients for, because not a lot of businesses are making video, even though they should, of course. And they're not making a lot of videos. And even once they've bought a video off you, they're not necessarily going to hire you again for another video.
And it's one of the things they probably scrap out of the budget the moment things get tight.
Exactly. And obviously, it's recession-proof bookkeeping. So it's the sort of thing, if you've got a good client, you will never lose that client. The number of bookkeepers, I mean, Kirsty is a good one, isn't she? She's still got her first client.
Yeah.
He's now her ex-husband. She lost him as a husband, kept him as a client. So, bookkeepers do not lose clients. If you're doing a good job, you will keep that client for life. So it's, it's scalable. You can grow it. You can scale it down. You can scale it up. And, I love to see the number of bookkeepers that are working together. So they might want to be sole practitioners or sole traders forever, but they are managing to scale their business or increase capacity or offer different services just by working with other bookkeepers in our network. So, I'm with you. There's no reason why people shouldn't be seeing this as a truly aspirational career from the get-go. But how we achieve it, you tell me.
Do you think people got into bookkeeping and saw it as a viable business option, which it clearly is, from a younger age, that max kind of 5 people firm would actually go to 10, 15, 20, because there'll be younger, more aspirational business owners that are owning bookkeeping businesses and ultimately driving it and pushing it forwards to be bigger and bigger. Is that potentially why we don't see huge bookkeeping firms, because people aren't going in it at such a young age?
It's a good question. I think it's because bookkeeping is time consuming. Or at least it is. You can't scale a bookkeeping business, or you haven't traditionally been able to scale a bookkeeping business as easily as you can scale an accounting business, particularly if you are one of these dinosaur once a year accountants. But I think what you can do, you can start charging way more money than those once a year accountants, because actually the real value is in that daily support and the reassurance and the guidance and having that control over every part of that business. So you can make a large amount of money from this. And that's actually something that we want to make sure that bookkeepers can support accountants with, is actually how do you price bookkeeping services and how do you make it really valuable? Because it should be the most valuable part of your business. And actually, I think a Xero study said that, most practices are making the bulk of their money from bookkeeping. But I think we're kind of seeing the shift where the tax return, it just becomes a sort of icing on the cake.
Yeah.
And the value driver is the bookkeeping. So I think that's why we do have to make sure we're open-minded to the technology. We've got to make sure that we're, it's being built with accuracy, with ethics in mind, so that bookkeepers have got more ability to scale their businesses. Because you just, the level of care and detail that bookkeepers apply to businesses, that is a difficult thing to grow to, thousands of clients. Although we do have bookkeepers with thousands of clients, but they do tend to have they tend to be more kind of tax bookkeepers, basically.
Yeah.
So for me, again, outside looking in, kind of looking at what ICB is doing really well compared to what, others might not be doing so well. One of those is definitely going to be the fact that you seem to definitely offer much more support to a small practice, maybe a sole trader, bookkeeping practice, or, the smaller ones. You seem to have the hearts and minds of them involved, whereas the other professions, they're not their bread and butter. Like I'm on a small practice committee for mine, and I have zero say in anything. Like what I say doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, it's what KPMG and PwC want. That's going to be the ultimate thing. How do you think that you've been able to make that there, but without, I've never heard anyone complaining that because they're a bookkeeper in industry that they feel they're not supported. How are you keeping all of those? Because it's a juggling act, isn't it, to keep everyone happy?
To be honest, I do think we've got the advantage that we don't have that sort of, our practices are not that diverse. We don't have any, big four accounting firms within our membership. So I think that is an advantage to us. Comparatively, we've got quite a homogenous membership. And I think it's something like 60 to 70% of our members, our member practices are sole traders.
Right. That makes sense.
Which is, huge, isn't it? But having said that, I think even some of those, I know ICAW at one point said they have a similar number of sole practitioners, as it were. So I think probably their memberships are, their members actually probably glorified bookkeepers, probably more than they're willing to admit. But yeah, I mean, that's different. That's difficult for government as well, isn't it? All you ever hear about is these huge businesses. And you almost kind of think, well, that must be the most important businesses in the UK. And yet we all know that most businesses are micro, most businesses are small. There's only really a handful of large businesses, and yet their voice is the loudest. So yeah, we've got this advantage where for us, the sole bookkeeper is really, that's our specialty. And still, bookkeepers come up to me and say, oh, I'm just a little bookkeeper. And I say, well, guess what? You're massive to us, because pretty much every bookkeeper is a little bookkeeper. You're huge to me. So yeah, I think unfortunately there's this sort of people, we still have bookkeepers who think that they're doing something that isn't as big a deal as it is. Even if you've got one client and it's your partner or it's your family business, you're still making a massive difference, aren't you? But yeah, so it's kind of easy for us, to be honest.
So my next one is going to be, you look at your Account Excellence Awards, you look at what else we have? Well, we've lost awards lately, haven't we? But most of them shy away from doing vendor awards. For you, is it the members were asking for it? Did you feel like you've just got to include them? Or, I mean, there's definitely some quote unquote political issue with accounting excellence, not wanting to do vendors anymore and kind of shying away from it. But what's the driving factor for doing that? Because we, as a podcast, it's the best thing we can ever have because it gives us something to talk about. So
It's a news story for us.
exactly, and we can talk about it. And I mean, you had it yesterday, almost hecklers in your audience yesterday, didn't you? When certain ones won over some others. It was me. I was very upset. Very passionate about it.
He used to like bookkeepers, then he realised they keep voting for zero. So all of a sudden
They
he doesn't like
keep
bookkeepers.
voting for zero.
Year after year after year. But anyway.
I wonder if anyone will ever win over zero.
But also from a software vendor's point of view, so the first thing we said this morning was we start now because it's now our award to lose next year.
Yeah.
So it's a motivating point for us, and we're like, right, what can we do in the next year to beat Free Agent to friendliest software?
That's the one everyone wants.
And they've had it for a few years now. It's like,
yeah.
we were like, and we're good friends with Free Agent, and there's been a lot of banter backwards and forwards before, during, and after. But it's like, for us, it's a real motivational thing of, right, this is one of our goals for the year is we want to be practice management app of the year. We want to be friendliest software app of the year. And then we want to maintain that each year. So having awards is good for software companies because it drives us. It's the smaller ones, certainly. But why do you do it and no one else does it anymore?
Such a good question. I don't think we could give it up. Our members want to make it known what their favorite software is.
Yeah.
And what I think is really interesting is that these winners change every year. Not in the case of bookkeeping software of the year, not in the case of friendliest, which always seems to get a Free Agent, but because they're smaller practices. And this is why I think it's good to come to the Bookkeeper Summit as an exhibitor, because you are meeting the buyer.
Yeah.
This is the practice owner you're going to meet every single time. Whereas, if you've got those bigger accounting firms, they get stuck in their ways. They have there's no incentive for them to keep
when they send
changing.
representation to Accountex or something, they're sending non-decision makers.
Yeah.
Whereas the people in that room yesterday, 100% decision makers.
Yeah.
It's up to them ultimately.
Yeah, they are. And also what's interesting, I think, about bookkeepers is they're a bit more open-minded to using different software. So, quite a lot of them will say, well, I will take on a client that's using software that I don't love because I'll use it. And they, and that's why a bookkeeper's opinion is so vital, because they will know exactly each of the different feature sets of every different piece of software. So I think, for us, we recognize that their feedback, their knowledge, their understanding of the product is really important. So I think that's why for us, we've got to keep those vendor awards, because that's the single source of truth.
Yeah, 100% is.
Yeah.
So it really means something that you guys are practice management software of the year. It's a big deal.
Yeah,
and because it's
it was last year that you didn't win it.
That's it.
That drew you on to, well, what have you got to do? How are you going to win it? How are you going to beat the one who did win it? What's it going to do? And it drives it, doesn't it? And you made decisions on your roadmap. You made decisions on hiring process. It changed fundamentally how your business
Also,
was.
the number of software vendors that actually don't listen to feedback. They kind of pretend they do, but it's all talk.
Yeah.
And that hurts
fine by me.
bookkeepers.
Because it makes us stand out.
And it's through community that you've done it. It's through valuing the community. And actually, even Fab, they come along and they go, well, your name is in the title. And it seems like such a small thing, but it's so powerful because of the history where bookkeepers haven't been thought of as professionals.
I did flag with one of your vendors yesterday who was in the corner next to us, loved by accountants on their stand. I'm good friends with them. And I just said, mate, read the room.
Yeah.
That's awkward.
Your tagline's wrong.
You got other vendors creating books for bookkeepers, right? And putting the story of the bookkeeper and all this and the other, really going to town for it. And then, loved by accountants.
So, we're still on the road of progress towards Bookkeepers Lib. We will fight that fight forever if we have to. But still, we've got a show guide. And every year we ask for blurb from each of our exhibitors. And I thought, this is going to be the first year, I'm sure, where we don't have to fix the blurb so that they've actually written bookkeepers and accountants, at least, not just accountants. Yeah. And there were 2 vendors that had mentioned accountants and not bookkeepers. And I was like, it's 2024.
What do you have to do?
There is a learning, like Marcus is our head of sales that came from Bright Manager. For the first week, I was correcting, like he would send me all his posts he was going to plan on putting out. It's like, you've missed the word bookkeeper. You've missed the word bookkeeper. He's on it now.
Yeah,
but
good.
There is a fundamental issue in a lot of softwares where they don't even recognize the bleeding word. Like, we won't post, and I personally won't post anything that if I say the word accountant, then it's followed by bookkeeper. Sometimes I even put bookkeeper and then accountants just to mix it up. But if the softwares can't value the bookkeeper, then how are our clients going to value our bookkeeper?
Yeah, it's a shame. You know, a lot of vendors will still say, well, bookkeepers are too small, or, you know, they don't understand the level of use of their software you're going to get, the different relationships they've got with clients.
In theory, bookkeepers are our lowest paying users because we charge by number of clients. But we make money elsewhere with bookkeepers in the form of they do our marketing for free because they won't stop talking about us. And your community are amazing for talking with each other and recommending stuff to each other and to those outside of their community. So it's actually right. Yes, we don't technically make much money on the sales, but we save a lot of money on marketing by having bookkeepers on board.
Yeah. You leverage the network.
Yeah.
If you're in, you're in. Particularly with, you know, figureheads like Kirsty Sinchen.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Amazing. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Your top trump card was asked by near enough every member.
It was very popular.
Yeah. Did you sign many?
Do you know what? I didn't actually. You did promise that everyone was going to be queuing up to get me to sign them. I think I signed one. Mayhill Dave, I signed his trump card.
Bless him.
So if it was going to be anyone, it would have to be him.
Yeah, only him.
It would have to be him.
Yeah.
Maybe it was when you were on that Zero podcast that they probably was going to do it then. And
maybe that was it, yeah. But I am chuffed to bits. I am so, so grateful. Thank you.
You have.
More than welcome.
And a very sought after card as well. So,
guys,
they're
thanks so much.
Brilliant. Well, anything you'd like to plug? Where can people find you? You know, go for it.
Well, I think I might tuck myself into bed and just scroll through LinkedIn.
The last 36 hours, time to chill.
Yeah.
So I would say definitely reach out to ICB. If you're a bookkeeper, you don't have to be a member of ours. We've got all sorts of things that you can get involved with. You know, there is a skills gap. We've got loads of practices that are looking to expand. We want more bookkeepers. Even if you don't think of yourself as a professional bookkeeper or you're a part-time bookkeeper, we love all bookkeepers. So come and get into the ICB family. It's warm and welcoming. And I think that's it, really. It's basically Christmas now, isn't it? So
yeah, that's it. We're done.
There's a huge Christmas tree here. So I always say that the Christmas starts after the Bookkeeper Summit. It's on Friday. So we're doing online Bookkeeper Summit for the next 2 days. But then Friday, I'll have a mince pie. And, you know, we can start just sort of, you know, planning for 2025.
Christmas periods there.
Fantastic.
But thanks, guys.
Amy, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Don't forget, if you want to see more cool friends, you're already in the right place. So make sure you use the like, subscribe button and everything else. And yeah, we definitely ended this series of Cool Friends on a very cool friend to have indeed.
We definitely did. Thank you very much for joining us.